Hey there, how's it going? What is up, everybody? Irish Orangutan is back to pass along the knowledge to make the most of your Madden team. Today we are back to talk about another top 10. Very excited to go through this and get a little bit more information brought forward about teams that could potentially boost up your overall and get you a little bit better chance of winning head-to-head games. Is kind of the key to this. You can go in and beat the computer with your base team. You don't need those +1 speeds and things along those lines. Sometimes you do want to just play with your favorite team, and I definitely understand that, but these teams will give you a boost beyond the others. So just explaining a little bit why I'm going into this and where I am looking this up. So if you do want to look up your own evidence to try to find why your theme team should be on this list or should be ranked a little bit higher, I go to mutt.gg. I've been looking on their site a lot more than Mutthead this year. I do actually prefer how Mutthead did their theme teams last year, and they did a tremendous job with that. But I've just been going to mutt.gg throughout this year, and I really appreciate what they're having to offer, and just really have been doing my research here over Mutthead. Both of them are great options, but we'll be looking here. And just so you note, overalls explained, these team overalls are calculated using only players that actually played for the team. No strategy items, chem boost, or secondary positions are factored into the rating. That is true in some regards, and also some players are boosted or playing double positions. Bruce Matthews was one of those. So sometimes when they have legend cards and have multiple positions, they don't take that into account properly. So just keep that in mind when we are looking through things if you see a player listed twice. A couple more things before we do get into the list regarding these teams. As you can see on the right here, they do have the overall rankings, so you can see why your team potentially would be rated a certain way. The Chiefs' defense somehow is actually rated higher than the offense is. They are struggling a little bit this year, but to be honest, they've been a solid organization for a while, so they do have some decent legends as well. Special teams brings them down a little bit. As you can see, their defense and offense potentially would be rated a little bit higher there. And this is something you potentially take in mind when you are looking at your own teams. Overall, not necessarily your theme team, but your team when looking in Madden. This is potentially how they would look at that. I have known them to round up, but I don't think this is actually the case. It seemingly was that way in previous years until you got to 90 overall, that they did round up, and then anything below that they would just round down. I don't think that's actually the case, but just something to keep in mind. And as you can see here, did have the Chiefs as an 87 overall when they were listing them out, and that definitely would have rounded up. So just something to keep in mind there. The other thing is that there will be players that potentially go on every theme team. There are always the power-ups that allow them to go team to team, but these teams would potentially be able to go on every team. Dan Marino, Cam Chancellor, your captain could be Merlin Olsen. That would definitely be the one that I would go with, or John Lynch, Lance Allworth, or Sean Alexander, but obviously only get to choose one of those unless you had the glitch earlier on this year where your system kept kicking them out. And then also Devin Hester or Junior Seau, so you could have a boost at the wide receiver or middle linebacker position, so that is a way to potentially get your theme team a little bit higher overall, and those will not be taken into account by mutt.gg, so just keep that in mind. I did try to keep those in mind when I was doing these rankings, but mutt.gg does not take them into account. It was a little bit of a giveaway as I was looking through the Chiefs. going through a little bit of examples regarding overalls and the players that will fit for every team, but the Chiefs will be coming in at number 10. They are a team that does have a high overall. This is a team that you could potentially roll out 50 out of 50. There will be some obvious weak spots, but with those team captains and players that you can get times 3, with the team affinity, different things coming out that allow you to boost them up. This team, as you can see, except for right tackle, is very, very strong across the board, especially on offense, at least looking first. I will comment defense second, offense first, as we do go through these things. Just trying to give you a better understanding of exactly what they do have on both sides of the ball. But again, high 80s, low 90s overall, do have the speed with Tyreek Hill, Andre Johnson, Andre Rison, not Johnson. Do love Andre Johnson on my team. I've been talking about him too much. But going back to the right side, again, solid 80s on the defensive line, but really don't want to play them as much. Can play some of these outside linebackers there, and they'll be very strong. Now that Derek Johnson, Bolton can play with Lurker very easily, very strong there. And Marcus Peters and Darrelle Revis become a lot more relevant when they do have that team boost. So even at the number 10 spot, this team is very solid overall. Playing them 25 or 50 is definitely something you can do at this point, and it is something that is exciting that it is available already even before Halloween this year. The Denver Broncos are coming in the number 9 spot. Looking at the top of the chart, it does look a little bit off compared to the Chiefs, but to be honest, Mahomes and Bridgewater aren't that different in their power and overall. Dan Marino obviously can be the best quarterback in the game, so really the quarterback spot can be taken away. And looking, once we get to the wide receiver, Brandon Marshall is the best wide receiver in the game. Giving him that boost makes him different. Vernon Davis, the fastest tight end in the game, again, just a little bit different, except Joe Thomas Zimmerman is right up there. Offensive line, one of these centers can to one of the guard positions, and Billy Turner can go to a right guard, and you aren't going to struggle all that much with a lot of Lawrence Taylors and players coming out in those regards. You're going to need the edge protector if they do have those special abilities, but really you'll be very solid, and with the pluses that you'll be getting to some of these top end players, it will be a boost that you definitely will want. This team could potentially be one of those that is better 25 out of 50, but if you are able to get that 50 out of 50, especially when Peyton Manning gets that boost as well, really can be a top end team for you. Defensive line isn't all that strong, but all you really need to do is play one of them in the middle, and then you can start playing these guys at outside linebacker. If you aren't getting weak boxed, you can definitely work towards having dime and quarters and things like that on the field, and just playing more linebackers up front. And these are great guys, and when Chubb potentially gets another card, they'll be great there. And then looking at their cornerbacks, they are absolutely wonderful, and Talib and Surtain are absolutely great near top end, and when they get that theme team boost, it gets them right there with everyone else. They both have solid hit power and are decent in the run game, and I played against Deltha O'Neal recently, and I think he did actually have the Broncos boost, and he was difficult to throw over, and they actually do go 5 deep, so again, that nickel and quarter can be wonderful for them, and they're just tremendously deep at the safety position. Do get Cam Chancellor to boost that up as well. Merlin Olsen can be the lineman. Again, Chiefs get those same guys and get a little boost to their defense as well, but as you can see, these AFC West teams are going to be rather formidable. Going on to number 8, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. As you can see, starting off, this quarterback is someone that you can actually play and play well with. Mahomes, when he gets a new card, and when Manning gets his new card, the Broncos and Chiefs will have a viable option. Brady is a little bit slow, but he does get that hot route master, so that does give him a boost there. A little bit weak at halfback and no fullbacks, so is going to hurt getting you to the 50 out of 50, but do have one of the fastest wide receivers in the game now that Deshaun Jackson has gotten a new card. Shipley, Evans, decent slot guys that can do that little extra with Galloway and Jackson on the outside. And Galloway becomes a very, very formidable deep threat when he does get that theme team boost. Did play him with Washington for a while, and he did play very, very well for me. Not the best over the middle, but you got those Shipley and Evans for those type of plays. And of course, Gronkowski being, to be honest, I think the best tight end in the game, a little bit slower and a little bit off the best run blocking, but does have that combination that does make him ridiculously formidable. And if you can get a running back in here out of the 25 or the 50 theme team, it can be a huge boost to you. Does have a great offensive line as well. They have really done a great job filling out some of these teams, especially the Bucks, a team that definitely deserves it, as their offensive line was great last year and is playing very well again this year. Looking over at defense, a little weak on the left side, but have a lot. And this is one of the guys that I was talking about, Leroy Selman. Sorry to interrupt myself, but is a right end and does have that legend card at defensive tackle as well. So that will be one player that you need to take out of this slot because he does not fit there. But as you can see, the best defensive line we've looked at yet, just because of the defensive tackles, Warren Sapp, Vita Vea, and Leroy Selman can definitely play all of those positions very well and stuff up the run and just make one thing that you don't necessarily have to worry about. Of course, you do have Shaquille Barrett and Broderick Thomas now, Jason Pierre-Paul coming off the edges, so you really do have a complete setup there. Devin White being able to play in that scheme. You are probably want to put Lurker on him, but decent cornerbacks as well. Buchanan doesn't, I think, well, he's man-to-man, so he doesn't have the zone. I knew he didn't have one all the way boosted up. He is my 4th or 5th cornerback at this point. He does do a great job in man coverage, but Rivas and Talib can definitely be boosted up and get that 90 man and zone and be near perfect there for you. Rivas is a lot older of a card, so he does have some weak spots now. But he was there for the Chiefs and can just be a solid spot as long as you don't put him up against the best wide receiver. Mike Edwards, strangely one of the best free safeties, just a little bit short there. Let him come up and play in the box. But again, you'll get Cam Chancellor there if you play it, I guess, not when you play up that far. But you do have some solid players to go around with, and you're going to be a little bit tight getting 10 to 11 guys on the field, but 3 there. Broderick Thomas, you're not going to want to take off the field. Barrett and Devin White the same way. Again, those guys are going to be a little bit more expensive, sadly. This team is one of the more expensive ones to put together, so you might want to keep that in mind since there are some limiteds here to look at with Tom Brady as well. Leroy Selman should be getting down lower in price along with Sapp as well, but just keep those things in mind when you potentially are putting these together because they could be very, very costly depending on how their top end cards did come out. If they came out in set pieces instead of limiteds, they'll be a lot easier to obtain. Coming in at number 7, the only team that I believe I put on this list that does have Vic as an option. Zach Wilson is actually my quarterback, so they do have Fitzpatrick isn't terrible either, but doesn't have the perfect abilities there. All great options, to be honest, at quarterback, except Fitzpatrick. He's just a good option, I guess I would say. But again, you can put that Marino in there. Curtis Martin, Tomlinson, great halfbacks. And then at wide receiver has the same situation. I guess Brandon Marshall didn't play for the Titans, but he's just playing for my team at this point. Brandon Marshall and Corey Davis as 1 and 2 wide receivers are great options, especially through the end of most year. A little weak at the tight end position, going down through the line as well. This could be a team to go 25 out of 25, but their top end players are absolutely top end and can be someone that you really want to have on your team. This team is only 83 overall and 87.56 on defense, so that is definitely where you are going to make bread, but sadly defense isn't as strong unless you know how to run it. Looking at the defensive line, just top end, looking a little bit closer to the Chiefs. Do have a decent middle linebacker there, and Mosley a little bit slow. You can use potentially Ed Reed as one of your linebackers to use potentially as a user. I wouldn't necessarily blitz him since those aren't the best stats. So you may have to scheme something up similar to what you had to do with the Chiefs, but they had a little bit stronger edge, and but this team has better wide receivers and things along those lines. And then looking here at cornerback, Revis and Aaron Glenn top end there, and then we have at free and strong Ronnie Lott, Marcus May, Ed Reed, and Jamal Adams to kind of bolster what you could potentially have there. Ed Reed, Marcus May, and Ronnie Lott all being top end at their position. Jamal Adams being a great player to fit into the box or potentially use as a nickel cornerback. Definitely brings everything up around them. Having the running backs to actually fit on this team, just adding one rusher and a couple players on the offensive line, potentially a tight end if that is valuable to your scheme. You could get it to 50 really easily, but their 25 out of 25 is near the top of what you could potentially get. Coming in at number 6 are the Dallas Cowboys. Dak obviously deserves an update. I assume that's coming with most feared, otherwise it should have come out at some point. Ezekiel Elliott, as you look through this team, actually one of the cheaper teams to kind of put together as well, as you can get Elliott through solos. Are going to want Dan Marino as your quarterback, but very solid all the way through the wide receiver position down through 6. I guess Allworth is one of those captains that you could obtain and fit on any theme team, but Miles Austin, one of the newest, just a top end receiver. Cooper Galloway, Roy Williams getting a little long in tooth, but with them and CeeDee Lamb all getting that +1, they all become very good options there. Billy Joe Dupree, one of those unique players that came out that, to be honest, I didn't know who he was, and I'm not sure all the players who play much did know who he was. Have probably heard his name, but didn't put it together exactly how he fit into the Washington Cowboys rivalry. But as you can see, even gets stronger as we do go down here. A little weak at center, but can fit Davis or Martin in there. To be honest, I would put Davis over there so you can have guards that are a little bit quicker. La'el Collins, the best right tackle in the game. A great option here, but as you can see, defensive line a little bit weak. Marcus Spears or Irving could fit well in at the middle linebacker, and Broderick Thomas and Charles Haley would fit very well on the outside rushing. Van Der Esch, Micah Parsons is still not bad with 88 speed there. And then looking back at some of the defensive backs, even when you get Deion Jones upgrade, it's going to make this look even better. Byron Jones, Trayvon Diggs, Aaron Glenn, Mel Renfro, and then going back at free and strong safety, you have Keanu O'Neal and Roy Williams. Only having a weak spot at quarterback, which is huge, so you want to potentially bring in Marino there, or have one of those players that is out for your 50 out of 50. But this team is solid, and you can run them 50 out of 50 really easily. Are just missing one or two top end players that would potentially get them up a little bit higher and makes the Jets halfway competitive with them if you look at the strong compared to the weak. This team is just solid all the way around. Coming in at number 5, Dan Marino actually fits on this theme team. The only theme team he does fit on: Miami Dolphins. Reggie Bush, Ronnie Brown, Thurman Thomas, Ricky Williams, a heyday at running backs. You could just exchange them and play one at slot wide receiver and just do absolutely tremendously there. Had the best fullback in the game as well. So to be honest, this has to be the best team when you are thinking of their offensive backfield, and definitely something you need to consider when you are looking at putting them together. And Will Fuller and Brandon Marshall, Jalen Waddle, Landry, great there as well. As you can see, the skill positions going down to Gesicki as well. Absolutely tremendous here for the Miami Dolphins. Left tackle and left guard going to right tackle and right guard are going to let you down a little bit, but do have a very solid, very solid center there in Mike Pouncey. And then looking on the defensive side of the ball, you do have a little bit of letdown. No real defensive lineman with any speed, but do have Sue to play the middle there. Jalen Phillips has had very solid speed since the beginning of the year, but his rushing stats are long in the tooth. Robert Quinn and Joy Porter could be your more solid guys that kind of stay in a little bit more often. They're able to get that power rush. You could run some more gimmicks with Jalen Phillips, or potentially use him as your user, but that's probably getting long in the tooth as well. Middle linebacker, Sehau could fit on any team. McKinney, Raekwon McMillan did have them a little bit further down. I knew there was a reason at some point why this wasn't up even higher, because that offense to start off with is rather amazing. But Kyle Van Noy can fit in there as well. Byron Jones, McCourty are great fits. So really tremendous defensive backfield as well. Fitzpatrick, Eric Rowe, Fitzpatrick a little bit long in the tooth, and have a solid kicker there. So really a great team. Let down a little bit on the defensive front, but you can score a lot of points and stop a lot of people from scoring and have some of those top end players down in Miami. For the Patriots, we do have them coming in at number 4. Absolutely tremendous across the board team here. Do have a few options at quarterback and Mac Jones and Tom Brady. Brady having the better hot route master, Jones being faster, and then Cam Newton being one of the best scrambling quarterbacks that still is out there. So you do have a lot of options and can run that 2 quarterback scheme with Newton and Brady, but of course Brady will be a little bit more expensive. At halfback, we do have Curtis Martin, Cordero Patterson, Kevin Falk, all solid options. Sonny Michel is a little bit slow, so not great there. Brandon Cooks, Randy Moss, Joey Galloway, especially with that theme team boost, become some of the best in the game, at least the fastest anyway. Hunter Henry, Gronkowski, both great run blocking tight ends, going to have better run blocking than some of the offensive linemen on this team. John Hanna, definitely the best puller yet in the game, has tremendous speed there. Shaq Mason, great as well, can put Thuney out at left tackle, Andrews at center, and Soldier or Brown at right tackle. Solid all the way down this entire team. Great offense there. Can't really want anything more, to be honest. Do have the Patriots absolutely loaded. Have been a great team for a long time, so it does make sense that they are starting to get some of those older guys onto the team and have them playing tremendously well. Chris Long didn't play there a long period of time, but have him coming over from the Rams onto this team. Christian Barmore, Trey Flowers, defense very solid to start up front. Chandler Jones, Jamie Collins, and again Kyle Van Noy, all decent players to put on the edge and rush there, and middle linebacker Teddy Bruschi and Junior Sehau. Actually decent options there as well. Sehau fits on all the different teams, so someone you can take into account for every team you may be looking at here. Cornerbacks, again, solid across the board. Mike Haynes, first or second best cornerback in the game. McCourty, Talib, Gilmore, Revis. Holy cow, you can play 6 deep at cornerback. McCourty, Harrison, Rowe, just solid absolutely across the board. Near 90s across the board. Decent speed as well, and have a couple top end players. So really take into consideration the New England Patriots when you are looking at putting together a theme team. Coming in at number 3, we have San Francisco 49ers. As you can see, the quarterback position is a little bit weak here. Trey Lance is someone that you can play and play with halfway decently. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to win a lot of games unless you are relying a little bit more on your halfbacks and things, in that regard, but Dan Marino obviously fits onto this team as well. But at halfback, you have Mostert, Mike Davis, and Reggie Bush, all good options. And then getting into the wide receivers, you have Randy Moss and Jerry Rice, great options there. Deebo Samuel and Emmanuel. They are going to be able to do just about anything that you do want unless you are running behind them. They're going to be a little bit weaker than some of the other players that you did look at, so Marino in this offense would look absolutely tremendous. We have Kittle and Vernon Davis as well, so just absolutely dynamic players at the receiving positions that can actually block inside as well, but just getting to the outside may be a little bit difficult for you. At left tackle, Trent Williams, Larry Allen, Alex Mack at center, Leonard Davis at right guard. And at right tackle, Trent Brown. That is a little bit weak there, but high-end players at near every position except for quarterback. So if you can find a quarterback that fits for your theme team, or just kind of a player to fit in there, near perfect on offense. On defense, is looking a little bit weaker on the defensive line. Bosa is going to be able to do a little bit of damage rushing, but not going to do the best stopping the run. DeForest Buckner, good against both, so may just need to play some of these linebackers in on the defensive line, and they will definitely be able to get the job done. Kevin Green and Haley, great, both coming off the edge. Fred Warner, great middle linebacker that can do damage for you. Does have decent speed since they did fix that up. Again, the cornerback position is a little bit off. This 90 overall isn't going to necessarily fit here, but you are going to want to play this running lot back at free safety. This may be one of the weak spots that you do want to fill in at the cornerback position, and when Deion Sanders comes out, you have a top-end player there, and then Jaquiski Tart, along with Cam Chancellor, fill in this defense very, very well. And just all those options at the receiver and offensive line make this an absolute top-end team to try to go out and get. And then you have that defender here, along with those guys coming off the edge that really do excel with that boost. The Tennessee Titans coming in at number 2. I hope this isn't too biased, but this is the team that I am currently running. I don't actually have these quarterbacks. Maybe should go out and get Marino to give that extra boost, but I'm just running it 25 out of 25, 390 plus quarterbacks here. Halfback is one of the main reasons that this is a great team to run, with Derrick Henry being the best in the game. Blasingame isn't terrible either. Then with Corey Davis and Randy Moss recently coming into the game and being two of the better wide receivers, not to mention Andre Johnson, absolutely tremendous run blocker and a great wide receiver there. Julio Jones, Charlie Joyner, and AJ Brown due to get another card here soon, so just very excited about what they could potentially bring to the table as well. Tight ends Jared Cook and Frank Wycheck, absolutely dynamic there, being the best run blocker, and with Cook getting that theme team boost, being the fastest tight end outside of Vernon Davis. Offensive line, left tackle I guess is a little bit weak, but Saffold, Bruce Matthews, and Spain fit in well there. And then you can put Sombrolo, never said that correct, Ty over there at left tackle or as well. Ty does have the secondary position of left tackle, so just keep that in mind. For the defense, to have Javon Curse and Jadeveon Clowney, two great players you can play on the inside there, and have that even better rush with Bud Dupree off the outside. Landry, Arakpo, decent options as well. Landry's going to be a little bit expensive, otherwise it would be a great option. Splain, very fast for middle linebacker, but starting to get long in the tooth there. Do have McCourty, Butler, Desmond King, great cornerbacks to potentially surround with. These guys are going to need that speed boost to become a little bit more viable, but at the safety position have Byard, Tatum, Pollard can boost up with that Cam Chancellor as well, so just absolutely fits in tremendously. Not as many weak spots here. looking at the 49ers, maybe was a better 25 out of 50 with a few more weak spots. This team, again, one of those that are going to be near perfect with that 50 out of 50. Coming in at number 1, we do have the Raiders of Las Vegas. The Chargers being the only AFC West team being left out here. Derek Carr, Liner at quarterbacks. Both decent options, not going to get the best abilities there, but Cordero Patterson, one of the better halfbacks in the game. Kevin Smith, and then looking at the wide receivers, just solid all the way down. Randy Moss, Jerry Rice being two of the best receiving wide receivers. Obviously, it's kind of in the name, so definitely want them to be better at that. Darren Waller and Jared Cook, all these players being some of the better, and then obviously becoming the best when they do get that speed boost. So that is absolutely tremendous for them. Looking at the offensive line until you get to center is a little bit weaker, but thankfully that is something that doesn't get as large of a boost. It just helps fill out your team and gives you kind of those players that make it a little bit easier to get the 25 out of 25 and 50 out of 50. So if you want to play with a stronger offensive line, you may have to run the 25 out of 25. But all these players with even just the +1 speed is going to be a huge plus. Max Crosby should have gotten Team of the Week long ago, but should be getting another card here soon. Warren Sapp, great in the middle. David Irving, not bad. Cleo Mack should be getting another card here soon, has been playing very well for the Bears. Derek Johnson, not bad in the middle. Ted Hendricks, one of the best linebackers. He's kind of a unicorn with his size, ability to rush the passer, and also stay back and pass coverage. So just keep that in mind, because you don't always want him to be doing the same thing, because he may be a little bit wasted doing that. But looking at cornerbacks, the best two in the game, and Woodson and Haynes, Philip Buchanan and Casey Hayward, both great options there as well. Ronnie Lott, Tatum, Reggie Nelson, Diablo, Swearinger, Morang, all just great options at the safety positions. Absolutely loaded. If you can fix the offensive line just a little bit, 50 out of 50 would be a great option for these Raiders, and they are definitely going to be the best team for at least a little while until the Titans get a quarterback that outmatches them. A couple other teams that may get there as well. If the 49ers get a quarterback, they're going to be near perfect and will be a little bit better out of that 50 out of 50 as well. But that's all we have for today. I thank you all very much and take care.